This is my lab Van. You guys remember the puppy that I got over a year ago? He's going through really bad allergies and he's been so sad, having to go to the vet all the time. So y'all just tell him he is a very good boy. Very good boy.
I think a lot of times in Apex, fans just simply want to be heard. Not only do they want to be heard, they want to know that they're being heard. So today we're discussing something that Apex Legends has finally spoken out about and said that they're actually listening to our feedback whenever we make these complaints. We're not always complaints, but sometimes suggestions. So leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new as always, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. Firstly, shout out to Lawrence for tagging me in this idea that PvP had on Twitter, and that was the fact, and I've been saying this for quite some time, but it's been a little bit different, but I do think that he had a great idea here, and that is to make the Apex Legends playlist modes just as follows. Have a casual play where there's group trios and then no group trios, which I would assume just means basically you're forced to solo queue. I don't really know where duos fits into this picture because I do like duos, although it is very underplayed. Then right next to it, you would have a competitive play mode, which is ranked ALGS balancing. Obviously, you know, nothing big here, just basically trying to follow the same ALGS format that we have in ranked. And following after that would be an arcade mode with a rotational timer in which 3 game modes would constantly be cycled. These are not limited time modes. Basically, these would be more permanent modes that just constantly are always being rotated. That being a team deathmatch mode, that being 3v3 arenas mode, and that being control mode. I actually really like that he put arenas in this because I think that this game mode really needs to be compressed down because they made it way bigger than what they actually intended it to be. If you're going to give it its own playlist and its own rank and stuff, you would think, okay, well, surely they're going to have big tournaments for it. Surely they're going to fund this thing. They're going to push this thing and drive it really big. And they just kind of left it to die. And if they don't want to go after it no more, that's fine, but just make it a smaller game mode that you could put in like an arcade mode like this. And then right next to that would be private lobbies in which you can host your own custom matches with your friends. And he titled this How to Fix Apex Legends 101 and then responded to it saying another section would be added during events for limited time modes, of course. And then he said game modes to consider if the game can actually support it is keeping duos, adding solos, and keeping ranked arenas. I personally don't think it can support all of those modes, but I would like to see solos modes. So shout out to Lawrence for tagging me in that. However, shout out to Hodge for actually tagging me in this other section in which Josh Medina actually made a response to this. So this guy's actually a senior producer over at Respawn, has a lot of say-so in what goes on into the Apex Legends community and what changes that they actually make. Josh Medina saw this post, which is great news to hear, by the way, to know that he's seeing what the community actually wants. And you might say, well, no, this is just what PvP wants. I think the majority of the community wants some sort of version of what PvP just posted. So Josh Medina says, what do you mean by no group trios? You know, actually putting a GIF here saying that he's like taking notes. Conversation gets way more in depth, and this is what I'm really excited about. So PvP responds, explains what he means by that, but then Reptar also responds and explains what he means. And then Josh Medina says, I assume this is requested to make up for the lack of solo queue. I assume I'm just thinking out loud here, but seems reasonable to discuss. Then Murdog chimed in basically saying, hey, not trying to assume here, but seems like you haven't heard this idea before, and if that's the case, clearly the players need to do a better job of offering feedback. I feel like a lot of us have been saying this, and I'm wondering if there's a good place for this stuff to be heard. Josh Medina responded, says, we hear this stuff. I'm just continuing the conversation and going in depth. You don't need to have a check mark just to be heard. Just be basically constructive. We see a lot of this stuff and just don't/can't respond to everything and everyone. Then Sword Drum also responded saying, regardless if this will impact anything, bro, thank you for caring and listening to this in any way. And one of the key responses Josh gave back to him says, but you best believe I relay lots of feedback and suggestions to the team from the stuff in the community that I see. I've been posting stuff like this on Twitter for quite some time. Sometimes it, you know, picks up traction. Sometimes a lot of people see it. You just always wonder, did a Respawn developer see it? And if they did, do they even care? It's great to see Respawn developers respond to this because now you know that they actually are aware of the situation. They probably think it's possibly a good idea. This definitely seems like the direction they could possibly take in the near future. I'm super excited about that because honestly, I'm sick of the old cycle of Apex getting boring after about 2 weeks of the new season. But it's never not boring enough to where I don't play. It's just boring enough to where I play, but I feel drained. The game has never really felt dead for me, and the gunplay is always so fun. It always keeps my interest just enough to stick around. It's going to be nice if they actually move to this situation where you're able to play something all the time that's actually fun for you. I couldn't imagine logging on and then just being so bored of BR and finally having an option to where I could play TDM, 3v3 arenas, and control mode at any time of the day. And on top of that, if there's an event going on, I can go play something else, like maybe Shadow Royale. So if you're excited like I am, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Even if you're not excited, leave a like because it helps me out a ton. Sorry that today's been a little bit of a shorter video. I honestly just don't have much to talk about. There's not as much going on right now until we get later in the week and get closer to this collection event, which is next Tuesday, by the way. We're also giving away an heirloom. I'll talk more about that in the future. So until next time, later, Gators.